Stephen West has really made a name for himself in the knitting community for his outrageous, colorful, zany patterns that really stretch the boundaries of what knitwear can be. And when he decided to design a mystery knit along for a new sock design, I knew I had to take part. Hello, my name is Emily Crow from Crochet Creations, and welcome to my YouTube channel where I love to talk about all things yarny. Today is a yarn vlog. We're going to go through Stephen West's new sock pattern, the Contrast Blast socks, which is part of his mystery knit along. It is currently July and the pattern is just about to be released. I'm super excited. So we're gonna go through, I purchased the pattern already and I'm going to look at the information that is given before the pattern is released so that I can get an idea of what yarns I want to pick, of maybe what techniques might be in there. I don't know, just kind of get a sense of what this pattern may be like before we hop right into it. So same as his Mr. Knit Along that he does in the fall where he does a shawl pattern, it looks like he's going to be doing weekly updates to the pattern, weekly clues that you can complete to stay on task for this pattern. So I'm gonna try to keep up as much as I can. He does say embrace your pace, but I can definitely complete a couple socks within this time frame. So let's take a look and see what this mystery knit along is all about. So he's actually got 5 sizes for this pattern, which is really nice. So you can even do some child sizes. It doesn't look like there's newborn. The smallest measurement is 6.5 inch circumference, which would be maybe like a child size. Like I think it's a slightly bigger than a toddler would be, because I think my daughter, she's 2.5, and I think her circumference is about 6 inches. So this is just slightly bigger than what hers would be. But it goes up to a 12-inch circumference. Oh my goodness, that is a big foot. Basically from child all the way up through like adult extra large could make this sock. Okay, so I'm gonna need 2 skeins of yarn, a main color and a contrast color. It says there's plenty of yardage for each depending on what size I make. So I should be fine if I just grab 2 random skeins from my stash. I'm hoping to shop my stash for this. Okay, so here are when the clues release. So there are 4 different clues released throughout the month of July. First clue is July 6th. Next clue is July 13th, then July 20th, and the final clue is released on July 27th. So we'll see how much I can keep up with that. I'm gonna try to avoid spoilers as I'm working on this, but we shall see how well I do. I also haven't heard as much talking about this pattern compared to his shawl design that he does in the fall. So I guess we'll see how many other people are participating. So in this first PDF before the pattern's release, he talks about color combos and use of variegated and speckled yarns. So this is really helpful for me because that's, I feel like, where I have the most trouble. I feel like I have a hard time coming up with the colorwork sock colors and finding the right amount of contrast where the colors still go well together, but there's enough contrast that you can really see the design. And I love me a good variegated and speckled, so let's see what he says. Okay, so it says it's okay to use as your contrast color as long as it's very high contrast. So as long as the contrast color and the main color are still very high contrast, you could use one of them with like a little bit of speckling, it looks like. It says use multicolored variegated yarns at your own risk. So it might not be the best, but you can always swatch to see if you like your color combo together. And that's true with whether or not you're testing out variegated and speckled yarns or whether you're just testing out 2 tonals or solid colors. You can test it out and see how you like them together. With those things in mind, I think let's choose some yarn. Okay, so here is the bulk of my yarn stash. I do have some hidden away in these bins down here, but I have some out. I've tried to organize it so that these are sock skeins. I have some sock skein overflow in here. I think I have a little over here. Actually, these are my scraps here and here. So I don't know exactly how much yarn I need, so I'm going to just use my full skeins. And that way I really don't have to worry about how much I use of each color. I don't have to play any yarn chicken, especially on the fly. I don't think I want to do that. If I see this pattern and I decide I want to change the toe color or whatever, like I can do that at a later point, but not while we are in the middle of a make along. So I'm going to pull out some yarns that I think kind of fit the high contrast, very lightly speckled, very lightly variegated, just to make things easier for me in trying to match colors. And we're gonna see what we can find. Okay, here's my unaesthetic pile of all the colors I picked out. Honestly, if you look, I have a lot of variegateds in my stash. I have a lot of self-striping. I have some more like blendy type of variegateds too. I do really like, and some like light speckling, but I think these are gonna be the best and the most simplistic color-wise to allow that contrast, whatever that contrast for this pattern will be, to really shine. I think I already have an idea of what I'm leaning towards, but let's lay these out. I have some beautiful tonals, but like what would go with them? I have a hard time figuring that out. So like theoretically, I guess I could do these two together, but honestly, I don't even really like this blue. Someone gave it to me. So I was thinking about making something for someone else. I don't really like it. We're gonna kick that out. This is a really beautiful color by Olivia and Oliver Fibers, but I really do want to use this mini because it pulls those speckles. And see, that's what I really love to do, is have a contrast color that coordinates very well with the skein of sock yarn I'm doing. And so that makes it hard for me to pick contrast colors for color work, because you need very high contrast. You don't need it to coordinate. You don't want it to coordinate because some of the details will get muddy because the speckles are about the same color as the mini, if that makes sense. So that's like not the best choice. These, again, this is really fun. Oh, that's a thought, but then see, that's the thing. I don't want the details to get muddy because the speckles are the same colors. Too many choices. And then I also have a couple like more interesting bases. I think this might be a yak sock base. Yeah, this is yak. This one is BFL. So do I want to mix bases? I feel like it'll be a better knitting experience, especially with color work and gauge, if I do not mix bases. So maybe let's take out these extra bases. This one is a great contrast. I've used it for another pattern, but I don't know how much is left. Probably like 50 or 60 grams, but I don't know how much of the contrast I'll need, how much of the main color I'll need. So probably just go for main skeins. Honestly, because I have some beautiful colors here. See, I had a contrast I had in mind to go with this color, but it's for a sweater pattern. And so I don't want to use it up for a sock and then run out for my sweater. So I have like plans for that. I have a sock design in mind for that. I honestly think that my best bet might be this pairing that I've got. This is, let's see, this is from the Anna collection, Anna Green Gables collection from Woolberry Fiber. This is Raspberry Cordial and Flower Crown. And honestly, when I purchased these, I thought that they would coordinate a little bit more. You see there is some pink going underneath the label there, but the speckles are very different. And I don't know, I feel like this is such a high contrast, and these colors are from the same collection, so they're really meant to go together tonally. So this might be my best bet, because everything else is like random single skeins that I'd have to figure out how to pair together. So this might be the easiest mentally for me to figure out how to do. One trick I like to use just to see how the contrast colors work together and how much contrast there is, I like to switch to a grayscale image on my camera so then I can see how they compare. So you'll look here, you can see there's very high contrast. They are very, very different tones of colors. So I think that any color work I do is going to really show up between these two colors. So I think that this will be a really good safe pick. I had wanted to do a project together with the two of these, but I hadn't had anything specific in mind. I was like, maybe a brioche something, but I think that they will be a perfect match for this sock pattern. Something I also like to do, especially with make-alongs like this, usually makers have some sock sets or some kits readily available that you can purchase, and you can just kind of look through these colors and see what colors go really well together that the dyers put together on purpose, knowing what this pattern looks like. Because those dyers, you can see, I have a lot of tabs open. I'm a lot of tab kind of person. So Stephen West has shown his pattern to these dyers, and this is the colors that came up with. Or he specifically, for his shop, Stephen and Penelope, has known what the pattern looks like and has pulled these colors from his stock to make kits. And so everyone who's made these kits knows what colors look best together for this specific pattern. So this is a really good place to look for some inspiration on some colors to see what would look well together. Just another hint, if you're trying to figure out colors, that's a really good place to start. Good morning, it is another day, and I am ready to start my Stephen West sock mystery knit along. And I'm a little bit late to the party. I was out of town on vacation at the lake, so didn't have great reception, so I just planned on starting my sock when I got back. So here I am. I have unfortunately seen a spoiler because someone posted in their stories on Instagram without a warning what their clue one looked like. So that's a little unfortunate, but at least it was just the first clue. I didn't get a ton spoiled. I am getting ready to start looking at the pattern, and I have the message in my inbox on Ravelry so I can read and kind of see what Stephen has to say, and we can cast on together. Let's take a look. So he's got the link here for clue one. He gives us a couple tips. Embrace your own pace, take your time, and enjoy the process. I am a proficient sock knitter. I might even be called a prolific sock knitter. So I am not worried about finishing within the time frame to be entered for any prizes or anything. I'm sure I can get the sock done. I might even try to do both socks within this time frame. We shall see. Not sure if I have the needles available. Maybe I should go get more needles today so I can do 2 at a time. That's a thought. But anyway, so I'm not worried about embracing my pace, but also I'm already a little late to the game, and that is totally okay. So we'll see kind of how this sock knitting process goes. Oh, it looks like there's a different right sock and a left sock so that my socks can be symmetrical because of the color work that's involved. That'll be interesting. Ooh, this first clue has a cable technique. Cables look fun. They're not my favorite to work up, but I think it's just because it's a little bit of a slow process. So that'll be interesting. I need to find a cable needle for sock knitting because I have like a thicker cable needle I've set aside for a different project I'm working on, but maybe a DPN will be the best for that. Have fun, post your progress, keep on knitting, kitten. That's cute. Okay, let's take a look at it. Clue 1 of Contrast Blast. Downloading pattern. I'm gonna read through the whole pattern, and then I'm gonna maybe look at the video if I have any questions or anything I wanna see done. Let's just take a look. Okay, so it looks like I'm gonna knit size 2 to fit an actual foot circumference of 9 inches. So yeah, this is like adult and like super large adult size sock. No small kid sizes. I typically knit a 64 stitch count sock, 60 to 64. I'm leaning more towards 60 stitches recently because of my gauge, but I think I'm gonna knit a size 2 in this pattern. I wonder, this pattern says to use a size 1 needle, which is typically what I do, but for color work, lately I've been doing a size 2 needle just to make sure that like my floats are loose enough. That's interesting. I wonder if I should go up a needle or not. Let's take a look at the pattern. Ew, and there's 2 different gauge swatches. There's like the normal gauge swatch of just stocking it, and then there's a gauge swatch for a slip stitch pattern. We're not gonna worry about that. I don't ever gauge for my socks. Worst case scenario is my socks are too loose and they're half socks. Best case scenario, they fit great. I make my sock itself a swatch, so if I realize that the sizing is not working out great, I'll measure on my sock and then I'll realize if I need to do something different for my gauge. But I'd never do a separate gauge swatch because that's just not me for socks. A sock is a swatch, basically. A swatch that fits your foot. Oh, interesting. So the stitch counts for this sock are different than I am used to. So I think it'll be okay to use a size 1 knitting needle for my size because I have more stitches than I normally cast on. So I think that'll work out okay to just use a size 1, even though I'm doing color work. Purl 2, knit 2 for my cuff. So it's a 2x2 rib for 20 rounds or until I get the length I want. Since I have plenty of yarn, I'm gonna do a longer cuff, like a 20 round cuff. Oh, we're gonna start cables right away. Ooh, interesting. I guess at the very bottom of the cuff, we'll do some cables and then we'll move on to the leg, which will do more of the color work. So we're gonna do stripes with some slip stitches. So like a mosaic knitting style. And that's clue 1. It also has instructions for the left sock. So both socks you could do in tandem and have them still mirrored by following these instructions. That's nice. So you don't have to wait till the end to get like the other sock instructions. We're gonna start with one sock until I know if I have extra needles available because I'm knitting a lot of socks right now. So I may not have the needle space at the moment, but maybe I could get some needles while I'm out and about today to cast on the second sock. So this is nice, not a hard cast on. I just gotta work on the cuff. So we're gonna start the cuff and then see kind of how far we get. And I'll be bringing it along with me, at least to get the cuff done. And then maybe tonight I'll start working on the cables after the cuff, because it shouldn't take too long to get the cuff work done. Let's go. So it was nap time, thank goodness. Georgia actually slept, though it did take her a while. So I've been knitting for about an hour and a half and I have finished the cuff. Sorry, the lighting is like not great, but I thought it would be better than having the window behind me. I finished the cuff, 20 rounds. My first thoughts about this needle yarn combo, I forgot that the berry sock base that Woolberry Fiber uses is actually an 80% BFL and a 20% nylon base. It is superwash BFL, but it has a very different feel to it. It's definitely more rustic compared to merino that I am more used to. And so that's been an interesting experience to be working on it because it's been a while since I've used Woolberry Fiber's sock base. So I had forgotten that it's just a little bit more hardy of a base. Also, with these flexi flips, and I've used them before, they're definitely fiddly at the beginning. And oh, what's going on with my hair? And now that I've got my cuff done, like they were really fiddly the first couple rounds. They were pretty fiddly the next like 10 rounds. For these last few rounds, it was actually pretty fun to knit. So I'm hoping that the rest of the sock will be smooth sailing and I'll enjoy it. I wish that they were pointier, and I also feel like this BFL base sticks to it a little bit more than the merino bases that I've used for socks in the past. So I think I need something just a little bit more slippy for this yarn for like the ideal experience, but it's not bad by any means, but it's definitely teaching me more about what I like in my knitting process, which is important to note and to remember for next time. So I am now finished, oh my gosh. I'm now finished with the cuff. It's time to do the twisted stitches or the little cables that they have. There's like 8 rounds of cables, but I also forgot to mention, I'm using the size 0, the 2mm needles for the cuff. Since I am using more stitches than I usually do, I thought I would use the smaller needle for my cuff and then I'll switch to my larger needles, my 2.25, for the rest of the sock where I'm actually doing the color work, so that it can hopefully have enough stretch. The nice part about using this style of needle compared to like a small 9-inch circular is that I can definitely try it on my foot as I am making sure that it still fits me like I want. So it's also really nice that because I'm gonna do cabling, I can just use some of these extra flexi flips that I have. When I switch out my needle size, I can use my smaller needles for holding my cabled stitches if I can't figure out how to do it easily without a cable needle. Also, I got another set of Flexi Flips, the US 1 2.25 size, and it's like a German brand maybe? Yes, it's a German brand, and so the ones that say US 1 are actually a 2.5 millimeter needle, which is different than every other brand I've tried. So I have the unlabeled 2.25 millimeter size because that's consistent with what I use. So it's not actually labeled US 1 size for the Flexi Flips container, if that makes sense. But I have another set. I'll get started on my cable stitches on this sock, and then I can use these size 0 needles to start my second sock cuff, and I can have them going in tandem with one another. So I can hopefully catch up and have both socks going and can like do both clues at the same time. So I can finish the entire pair by the end of the month. And my goal today is to finish clue 1 from this knit along. I have the first couple sections of clue 1 done, and you can see this cable detail is really interesting. I've never done anything like this where you just do one direction for the cable, and then it kind of just turns everything else into a purl stitch over the rounds. So that's like a really cool detail. It's neat movement in the piece. But now it is time to introduce my contrast color and to start doing some mosaic knitting is what it looked like. So I think there's like maybe 24 rounds in the repeat, and it says to do as many as you'd like. We'll see how long 24 rounds is, because I know slipping your stitches will shorten the height of your rounds. So I might want to do 2 or 3 repeats. We shall see. But I've got my TV set up so that I can throw on some YouTube to watch, catching up on some podcasts, and I'm going to be working on the rest of this clue. Because if I finish it today, then we can move on to clue 2 and start to get caught up. All right, rounds 1 through 24 done. It's looking really good. I think this was really fun to knit up, actually. The only things I didn't like were, because I'm using 2 different needles, technically 3 because I have the working needle as well. When I did slip stitches around here, it just was really hard to keep my tension the same. So I think that working 9-inch circulars might be a better option for this pattern, so that you don't have to worry about those junctions and laddering when you are slipping at those junctions. But I think it looks really good. I just took a look at the pattern, and it says I need to do, I think, rounds 1 through 16 again. So I'll just a few more stripes. So this is like about as tall as it'll be. It's maybe a little bit loose, but again, this color work will be stiffer with the slip stitches than normal knitting. And then if I do any stranded color work or Fair Isle, that'll definitely be tighter. So I think it'll be okay. It's fitting all right now, and this is kind of like stretched out. So I'm excited. I'm going to pound away a few more rounds, see if I can finish it this morning. If not, then you may see me this afternoon after I get some chores done, coming back to this. We are finished. You can see definitely there's some weird puckering and whatnot. I hope that with blocking these when they're all done, that'll help. Also with wear, and you know what? Sometimes puckering happens and they will still work as beautiful socks. So that means clue 1 is done, and I can move on to clue 2 today. This is one of my days off. I am working the next few days at the hospital, so I won't really have time to knit. So I'm hoping that today I'm gonna go do some chores and errands and whatnot. I'll come back, and maybe this afternoon I can sit down, take a look at clue 2 and see what that part of the pattern will entail. All right, I am back. It is the same day. I have been to Target. I've done some chores around the house, had some lunch, and I now have my popsicle and I'm ready to look at clue 2 for Stephen West's Mystery Knit Along. Oh, leg section 2. That's a bummer. I kind of thought I was done with the leg. I guess we're knitting more on the leg. It looks like though I'm doing multiple repeats of this next section on the leg, and that I can easily take out repeats for the leg length that I want, which is good because I tend to like a shorter leg, like a very tall ankle sock or a very short mid-length sock, if that makes sense. That's kind of where I like it, like a Chelsea boot height. So I think I can adjust this pattern to get the right height that I want without too much trouble. This is a heel flap and gusset sock pattern, which is one of my favorite ways to knit a sock, and I know that it'll fit me really, really well. Hold on, this heel flap uses both colors. What? I've never done any color work on a heel flap before, so that will be new. Okay. Clue 2 is the rest of the leg as well as all of the heel. So it's including the heel flap and the heel turn. So let's see how much I can get done today. I think I could probably finish the leg. Maybe I can get started on the heel. I do have other things I need to do today, so it's not like all I'm doing is knitting. So we'll see how far I get. I gotta throw on some more YouTube to watch and get started on the rest of this leg after my popsicle. My hands are getting so sweaty. It's like 102 degrees outside and we only have a swamp cooler, so there's only so much you can do, and it's making it hard to knit. But I have 4 more rounds left, and then I'm going to take a break from working on the sock because I think my leg will be long enough and I don't want to make it any longer. So 4 more rounds and then I can move on. I'm going to take a break, do some chores, and then hopefully come back to the heel later on tonight. All right, so we are done. This is as long as I want the leg to be because I have short legs, and like I said, I like a boot length, and this is already taller than that, but this is clue 2 leg section 2. So kind of like a brick motif with some purl stitches that were not fun to do. I think my tension with this yarn and needle combo is fine with knitting. I think it's the purling that I'm not enjoying at all. It's just feeling really sticky and tight, and maybe that's just how my muscle memory is for purling, and it's like not the best for this combo, but I'm happy to be moving on. I need to wash my hands because I'm feeling all sweaty. I'm gonna get some chores done, get dinner ready so I can throw it in the oven when we're ready to eat. And we'll come back maybe this evening to see if we can work on this heel. Okay, so it is evening now and my daughter is finally asleep, and I thought I would sit down and start working on the heel flap, and I've done 1 repeat, so I've done 8 rows. I like how it looks. I think it looks cool. There's like these little almost like lice stitches in the contrast color, but I'm not sure if I'm doing it right. I'm not sure if I'm like misreading something, just because there's a lot of instruction that it's like if you're off by 1 stitch that it would vastly change what you're looking at. So I'm gonna check out Stephen West's video for this clue just to make sure that I am on track. Okay, we are back. I checked out the video and it looks like I am on track. So we're just gonna bulldoze ahead, see how far we can get on this pattern. I don't really have a plan necessarily for how far I'm gonna get. I'm watching a YouTube video. When the video ends, I'll probably relocate upstairs because it is getting later on in the evening, and I will just hang out in bed with my husband while he's watching his YouTube, I'm watching mine and doing my knitting. So that's kind of the plan. We'll see how far I get tonight. So I ended up staying up a little late. It is now like 10:30 and I finished clue 2, yay! It's kind of hard to show on my foot because of the way that my needles are. So let me take it off and show you what I've done. Okay, I've done a ton today, which is really awesome. I just finished this heel flap, which is honestly really cool. I really like this pattern. And then the heel turn, which is normal. Heel turn, nothing super exciting. But that means I'm all done with clue 2. That's awesome. I'm really excited. The next clue doesn't come out until Thursday, so I
can start my second sock and kind of start working on that. I don't think I'll be able to get caught up because I work the next 3 days, but I can at least get a start so that hopefully by the end of the month I can have both pairs done around the same time. My only thing is it's definitely loose on me. I don't know if you saw when I had it earlier, because it depends on how the color work kind of cinches things in. Even right now, it feels too loose. So these will probably end up being more like house socks, fun socks, cozy socks, maybe socks to layer if I'm wearing socks already and I want something extra warm on my feet. I don't know, we'll see. So that's a little bit of a bummer, but the next size lower has fewer stitches than I normally do. Plus with the color work, it just wouldn't work out. There's just such a large gap in the stitch repeats. It's like a 12 stitch difference between each of the different sizes. So that makes it hard to just size down if something's too loose, or just size up if something's too tight, because that's a really big difference. 12 stitches worth, but it is what it is. I think that this is still a really fun project, and we'll see, I guess, how much with wear, how they'll fit. Yeah, I feel like the heel might be a little bit loose. We shall see. I don't know. We'll just have to keep watching. All right, I am in my pajamas. I've got my squashmallow, and this is my nightstand headboard area. It's a mess, but this is all fun things that I do at night. But anyway, thank you so much for joining me on this vlog. I think I'm gonna do a 2-part vlog, so this will be the first half, and then I'll do a vlog for the second half of this make-along, so you can kind of follow along. Share down below if you are participating in Stephen West's Contrast Blast Mystery Knit Along for these socks. Let me know what colors you're using, if there's anything unexpected that you found with these textures. I kind of knew what I was getting into because it's Stephen West, but some things definitely caught me off guard. So I think it's really fun to talk about. Of course, there are spoilers, so I hope that you weren't watching unless you were okay with that, but let me know down below how you have been doing on these first couple of clues, and I'll see you next time for the rest of this vlog. Happy making. Bye.